Hi everyone, it's Stacy with So Steady, and we are so excited to be here today. We're trying a new streaming option, so pray for us that it all goes great. But I'm here today with Pam Barner. She's got a super fun project in store for you today, and it is using all of those amazing new templates that are in your Elevate box. So we finished shipping out all of your boxes last week, so everybody should be getting their box. I've already started getting calls from folks that have gotten their box, super excited. So I hope yours comes any day now if it hasn't arrived yet. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making something really cool out of what you see right here. So what we have is this awesome project that Pam created called a tic-tac-toe board, guys. So Pam got super excited because she saw the opportunity to create a tic-tac-toe board because of the Churn Dash, right, Pam? Pam, so you were able to create that tic-tac-toe board out of the Churn Dash, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So that allowed us to be able to go ahead and do a really fun project. So Pam, I thought I would go ahead and show everybody this super cute tic-tac-toe board. Do you want to show them your version as well?
Yeah, I don't know if I can get it all in the camera,
Okay.
but let's see.
Well, we'll start with my version, and maybe we'll even play a little game here. So
Okay.
what we have is Pam created this really cool project. She even shows you how to create a little simple tie-off solution so you can store it. So she used one of the buttons. You can kind of see it right here. Let me show you if I can get a little bit better display on it. She used one of the buttons from the box, which is this cute little flower button, and a little hair tie as a clasp. And then we go ahead and open it up here and fold it open, and then voila, she even created these little fun felt pieces for us. So now I thought it might be kind of fun to play some tic-tac-toe. So Pam, I've got my pieces. Do you want to be pink or yellow?
I always want to be pink.
All right, so let's go ahead and let Pam be pink. Where do you want to start, Pam?
I want to start. I can't see the board,
Do you want to
but
start
I
in the
want
middle?
to start. Sure, I'll start in the middle.
Okay, how about over here? We can see the board over here. There we go. Um, okay, perfect. And let's see here. Okay, how about now? Can everybody
But
can everybody see us again?
it says visitor. What? Yes, you're there.
I'm here. Okay, so Pam, let's just work on having you be muted because we had that echoing. That's what we were trying to deal with. We're back, guys. We're back. Sorry about the delay. Okay, so thank you for bearing with us as we explore this opportunity. Instead of playing tic-tac-toe, though, we're going to go ahead and just go right to our video that we have planned for you today, where we teach you how to make this super fun tic-tac-toe board, and then you're just going to have to play tic-tac-toe at home, okay? So let's go ahead and jump over there. I hope everybody can hear me okay. But we have some great education planned for you. So let me go ahead and get that video pulled up here. And we are going to be watching our tic-tac-toe class by Pam. And let's go ahead and see if we can head over to the screen for you. All right.
These are the components that we need to make the churn dash block. I use my AccuQuilt to cut these. So I use the 4-inch cube. The half square triangles are die number 3. The rectangles are die number 8. The 2-inch square is die number 1. The 1-inch squares are die number 2. And then I cut 6.5 by 1.5 inch strips. And the way that this goes together is we make our corners out of the half square triangles. Then the center pieces are made out of rectangles. Now, these finish at 2-inch squares. So these two sewn together is a 2-inch finished square. These are a 2-inch finished square. And then we put our other quarter square triangle in the corner. Then we have our rectangles in the center, like this. And then, and you can do the colorway any way you want, whatever makes you happy. I thought these colors were very summer. So this is our churn dash block. And normally you would put the orange color here in the center, but I decided to change it up a little bit and put this kind of turquoise blue in the center. So that's what my churn dash block is going to look like. And then when I get done, they are going to be sashed with cornerstones. So this lovely flower print is going to be around the blocks. And it's also going to have a sashed border. And then our little squares go in the corner. So that's what it's going to look like. This is a simple 9 patch. So we're going to get that sewn first, and then we will add the sashing. So let's go to the machine and make a block. Whenever I make a quilt, I always like to start with a test block or a sample block or just a visual thing for me to look at while I'm putting my quilt together. So I'm going to start by taking the triangles and putting them right sides together. And I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch away. The needle is going to go just to the inside of, how did I do that? The yellow, orange on top. Just to the inside of this point right here. Just to the inside, like a thread to the inside. And let's get that up there. Sometimes I do this with different fabric, but today this is just going to be with the fabric that we're using in the quilt. So this helps me later on when I go to lay out my blocks, when I'm building my blocks. It's like a roadmap. Then when I get the triangles done, I'm going to do the rectangles. And now I can do my rectangles. I like to chain piece. I find it very relaxing. I'm stitching all of these with the orange on top. I am going to press to the pink. So when I take it over to the iron, I'm just going to flip them all. And that's not exactly right on there. Maybe when I do the rest of them, I'll do with the pink on top, and then I won't have to flip them when I go to press them. You can make one block at a time. You could stitch all the triangles together and then come back and stitch all the rectangles, whatever you want to do. So now I'm just going to cut these apart. There's 4 rectangle units and 4 triangle units per block. And then I'm just going to flip these over because it'd be easier to just press it towards the pink. And now I'm going to take it over to the board, and hopefully our iron is hot. I'm pressing on a wool mat. I find it keeps my blocks from shifting. And what I do is I set the seam, then I open it up with my fingers. I kind of go this way. I don't push hard, but I just kind of hold the block that way, and then I press down. I don't go back and forth. And there we have 1 unit. Set the seam. Set the seam. If you go like this, you're going to distort your fabric. Set the seam. So now we'll do the rectangles. Oops, I didn't set the seam. Press. Setting the seam kind of, it like melts your thread into your fabric, I think. I don't know what else to say. That's just how I was taught, so that's how I do it. Set the seam. It just takes a second. Don't iron your fingers. And now we're going to take this back to the machine and sew this together. Here are the pieces to my block. So now I'm going to sew them in rows. So I like to take the center block and fold it to the left, because then I have this spot right here that I'm going to sew my seam. If I flipped it the other way, like this, I may get confused as to do I sew on this side or that side. That's just me. You do whatever works for you. So I'm going to take this center block, I'm going to fold it to the left, and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch away on these 2 blocks. This is my top row. Get them lined up. And let's sew. Now I take the center block and flip it over, and I sew along here. Now I take the bottom row, flip the rectangle on top of the half square triangle, and sew it. Now I can take that first piece that I put together, open it up, and I can add this piece to it before I press. That's going to go like that. And I'm going to flip this over here and sew. This helps me stay aligned so that I don't mistakenly sew the block like this. I don't want to do that, or like that, or even like that. So it just helps me keep everything together. And now we're going to cut the center row out, open it up, add this one to that center piece. And then finally take the bottom row and sew this piece onto there. The top row and the bottom row are interchangeable. Notice how I'm holding my finger here? That prevents my fabric from swaying off to the left. Now I'm going to cut these apart and I'm going to press them. So we're going to press towards the rectangle. So, or towards the pink, I guess, is what we've always been pressing towards. So either remember, press towards the rectangle or towards the pink. Take these to the board. So in this case, we want to press towards the rectangle, right? So we start here. We're going to set our seams. Okay, We want the rectangle to be on the top, and then we hold it this way. And then we're just gonna set everything and press. Now we're gonna flip it, do the same thing here, press it towards the rectangle. This will allow us to nest our seams when we sew these rows together. So there's the top row and the bottom row, same thing. Press towards the rectangle. Press towards the rectangle. And then the center one, same thing, press towards the rectangle. You want to make sure you don't get your iron down here when you're doing this. Press towards the rectangle. There we go. And now we can sew the rows together and we'll have our block done. We are now going to sew our 3 rows together, and because we have pressed the seams towards the rectangles, they're going to nest just perfectly. So I'm going to take my top row and fold it over my bottom row, and here the seams are pressed to the right, and on the centerpiece they're pressed to the left. So I'm going to nestle my seams, butt my seams up together, and I can feel it. So then I'm going to pin it, and I pin to the right of the seam, and then I pin to the left of the seam, but I pin at an angle. This way I can stitch down here. Once my needle has crossed this seam, I know that I've locked my intersection, and then I can remove the pin. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to nest those up next, butt them right up next to each other, stick my pin in, and now hopefully nothing's going to move while I'm stitching. But that needs to be moved up just a little bit. I was just adjusting that pin. So you can double check if you want to make sure everything is fine. Down at the bottom, I like to put a pin vertical to, or I guess parallel to the seam line. And that prevents my fabric from shifting. And here we go. So this, I'm going to hold the seam up. I've just passed this stitching line right there, so I can take my pin out. Hold that. Again, now I can take my pin out. I've got the pin over far enough that it doesn't interfere with the foot on the left. And now these intersections came out perfect. I'm going to add this on now. And same thing, I'm going to butt them up against each other. If you don't want to pin, and not everybody likes to pin, but let's just say you don't like to pin, what you can do and I only recommend this if you're confident doing it, is butt your seam up here. Hold your stiletto on that seam. Now you've passed it. Now take the next seam and butt it up against each other. We'll see if this came out right. I would rather pin. I don't pin often, but I do pin intersecting seams. And that came out pretty good. So now I'm going to press it to the top and the bottom, and we are done with our block. Again, we're going to set the seams, press towards the top, again towards the rectangle. So easy to remember. Gonna flip it over. That I didn't do perfect, but you know what? It's okay. And the reason that this is okay, I'm just getting that seam to lay flat. This seam should have been pressed that way, but it didn't stay that way when I stitched it together, and it's fine. Everything matched up, and there's going to be sashing on every one of these blocks. So it doesn't really matter that much how things end up back here, because the sashing is going to help that. So, and there's my block finished. I have 9 of these to make. The next step is to work on our sashing. So the first thing we're going to do is sew a sashing piece to every block. So we can either put it on the top here like this and sew it, or we can flip it over, and then that way you can see these points and you can get it right. Well, like here you can see, because you want to get it right on those seam lines. So whatever is more comfortable for you. If you want to pin them, you can pin them. I'm just going to start with a little leader, because I just oiled my machine and I don't want those first few stitches to go on my fabric. And we have not cut off our point. So I'm going to press this in the direction of the sashing. And I will do that for all 9 blocks. For the sashing, we're going to press it towards the sashing. So set the seam, finger press that up, and then press down. And we're going to do that for all of the churn dash blocks. We have 15 sashing pieces left. So we are going to sew the cornerstone, which is the smaller of the square, to the end of 14. And then on the 15th one, we're going to do a cornerstone on each side. So we're going to start with the 15th one. Just set your cornerstone right on top and stitch it down. Went a little too fast there. And then do this one. And we're just going to keep stitching these. And then we're going to take them to the machine and press them. So just remember, one of them needs to have a cornerstone on each side. Now I take the first one and I unsnip it from the chain, and I am going to sew onto the other side. And then we can take these all to the machine and press them. Or to the ironing board, sorry. I'm not going to press them at the machine. For the sashing with the cornerstones, we're still going to press towards the sashing. And just press that in place. Same thing on the one with 2 cornerstones. We are going to press towards the sashing. There we go. So those are these 2 pressed. And we'll do that with all of the sashing strips. Next step, we're going to take our blocks and 9 of our sashing pieces with the cornerstone attached, and we're going to add it. So we're going to do it on the right side. Now, we can pin this if we want to, or we can find out where it goes and we can nest our seams. And like I said, we're going to do this to every block. So I'm going to keep on doing this. And then we will press them. So I've added the sashing strip to my blocks, and again, I'm going to press towards the sashing. I'm going to do this on all 9 blocks. And then we will add a little bit more sashing to a few of them. before we sew the blocks together, we need to add sashing to the outside edges. So we're going to add on the bottom, we're going to add them like this. And then on this right side, we're going to add one here and one here. And then after we get that sewn, we're going to add the double on the right-hand side there. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to leave these here while I sew, and that way I make sure they get where they're supposed to be. So I'm going to start with this one. And this is a little tricky because you have to have your nesting done at the bottom. So we're just going to start sewing. Make sure this is nested. I can feel it. I can pin it if I want to. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Okay. We're going to continue on the bottom. I just want to peek and see how that came out good. So my sensory on getting this matched up is working. My blocks aren't perfect. And the sashing allows me to kind of hide that. Sometimes if I if I sew too fast, I don't get perfect piecing. Make sure that matches up there like that. Smooth this. There we go. Okay, now I can take the first one, and this is the one that I'm going to add the double to. So I'm just going to finger press this. Make sure I get a good crease in it. Okay. And now I'm going to add the one with the double cornerstones. I will tell you that even if I'm doing a solid sashing without cornerstones, I still create cornerstones and sew it this way. I just think you get a much straighter seam, and your whole quilt comes out smooth and straight. If you try and add long sashing, you run the risk of things not coming out the way that you want them to. So a lot of measuring, making sure you're in the center, that kind of thing. and I just find it easier to do it this way. It also gives me a center. The seams give me something to center and figure out my quilting. So. And I'm going to press all of these again towards the sashing. This is not lining up the way I want it to. There we go. These last two were the right-hand side. And I'm going to take these over to the iron and press them. Oh, it's down here. I can tell by the pressing. This is down here too. And then this has got all four, so that goes in the very bottom right. And then this is going to go like that. So I'm going to get these all pressed, and then we will sew our rows and then sew our rows together. I've pressed all of my sashing pieces, and now I'm going to sew the rows together. And just like I did with the 9-patch, I like to start with the center and fold it this way, and then I know that I'm going to press on the left. So again, we have to match up our seams. And there we go. Again, you can pin if you want. Take the center block, flip it against the one on the left. Match up your seams. Now, these are not pressed. Since these are pressed towards this sashing this direction, they're not nesting perfectly, so I just fold it down a little bit. Like I'm folding this seam here down, and that allows me to get it nested. Again, if you're more comfortable pinning, please do that. And this last one here, row 3, I have 2 pieces that need to nest. So I'm gonna do this one on the top first. And then I can grab the bottom and nest it down at the bottom. And now I take, oops, that didn't. I take this one, lay it back down there. I'm gonna, this is in the center. And then this is on the top. I always put it back to make sure everything is lined up the way that I need it to be. And so this we're going to do the exact same thing, nesting the cornerstones, which make sure this is straight. There we go. There we go. This one goes on here. Oops, I put this on wrong. This back here, and this goes like this. There we go. Wondered why that wasn't lining up. And now this last one on row 3. Again, we have 2 spots to line up here. And this one goes right there. So there's my rows. And now I'm going to press everything, not the inside block, but all of the sashings and everything on this row. Let's see, no, we're good. We're still going to press to the sashing. So, because these will nest and these will nest. And then hopefully we'll figure out those to nest. So again, we're pressing towards the sashing, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that with, let's do it on this row. So this is the bottom row. This is a seam, and this was a seam. So first thing we're going to do is set the seam, and then we're going to press it towards the sashing. Same thing here. When we put this together, we are going to have to manipulate the seams. The other option is to re-press everything, and I don't want to do that. So let's see. Was this one? Because these cornerstones are so small, they finish at 1 inch, they're really easy to manipulate. If they were bigger, I might press this where the even rows went in one direction and the odd rows went in another. But this is a very small piece. I'm ready to sew my rows together. I'm going to start with rows 1 and 2. I'm going to flip row 2 onto row 1, And I am going to pin this because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 places where we want this to match up. And so it's just easier, I think, to pin when you have that many. And then that way things don't slip around. And so just like I did earlier, I'm pinning to the right of the seam. And then I go at an angle and come out on the left. Come down here and pin this one. And then we have the last one. And then I like to put that last pin in parallel to the seam line. So we can sew this. After we go over the seam, pull out the pin. Stitch over the seam and remove the pin. This one's really close, so take one more stitch. That was really close to the pin, is what I meant. So there are our top 2 rows, and then we're going to take our bottom row and flip it, and we're going to pin it the exact same way we did on the last seam. So butt the seams up. Nest them, whatever you want to call it. Put a pin to the right of the seam and then come up to the left. Now, it looked like it moved, which it did. And there is our finished tic-tac-toe board. Not completely finished because it's not quilted, but I'm going to press it and then sandwich it, and we are going to quilt it on the embroidery machine. So give me some time to get that set up and we'll be back.
All right, guys, we got one more video to watch. So let me go ahead and head on over to that. Just 1 second here. And we're going to kick on the next video where Pam is going to be showing us how to finish this. Let's see here. All right. This is video 2.
I had put
Okay, so let me go ahead and
quilt in a hoop, and I'm ready to do my quilting embroidery design. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull up my bobbin thread and see if that worked. There we go. I'm going to hold these threads while I start. And now I can take it off of the machine and I'm going to rehoop it. I'm going to do all the blocks the same. Let's make sure that we cut my threads here. I turned my thread cutter off so that it wouldn't create knots when I stitch things out. So I have to cut my threads from the top and the bottom. There we go. So first design down, and then we're going to do this same design in all of the churn dash blocks, and then we're going to do something different in the sashing. Here is the quilt with the final designs and how they're laid out. We're going to address them one at a time. I've centered the design in the middle of each block. On the inside of the quilt, I have centered the design in the middle of the cornerstones. Center your border design in the cornerstones, making allowances for where you're going to add your binding. Center your corner designs in your cornerstones, again, making allowance for your binding. We are now going to make our playing pieces for our tic-tac-toe board. I have some thin felt here, and there's a smooth side and a rough side to your felt, so make sure that your smooth side is the right side. So I'm going to flip it over. This is the rough side, and I'm going to put stabilizer. This is OESD Stable Stick. There's other products that are similar, but it has a sticky back on it, and it's kind of stiff. So it's going to give the pieces a little bit of substance. And I'm just going to set it here. That's where I'm going to put it. I don't need the entire piece of felt, so I'm probably going to move it up to the top here. And then to get the paper off, I'm just going to take, you can take a pair of scissors, a needle, anything, and score the paper, and then the paper should come right off. And I'm going to set this up here, close to the edge, but not over the edge, and then smooth it down. And now you can cut out your pieces. I'm going to use AccuQuilt to cut out mine, and I'm cutting mine in 2 different colors. So when they're all cut, I will be back with the board and the pieces. I have cut out all of my board pieces. I did 6 of each. You really only need 5 of each, but I thought, well, if I lost one, I would be okay. So we have some yellow gold flowers and some pink hearts. And now we are ready to play tic-tac-toe. And heart goes there, so flower's gonna go there, and then heart's gonna go here, so flower's gonna block it there, and then heart's gonna block it here, and flower's gonna try and get 3. Oh, but guess what? Heart got 3, and heart wins down the middle. So have fun with your tic-tac-toe boards. The last thing I did was create a closure for my tic-tac-toe board using the buttons that came in the box. I used the flower button and a hair tie. So the way I did this is I folded my piece from the right and then folded the left side. Then I folded the third up from the bottom and then folded the top down. I sewed on my hair tie right here, and as you can see, I just stitched it there with a regular foot. I didn't have any problem stitching through the hair tie. And then you turn it over, pull the hair tie over, mark, and then sew your button. The one thing that you do want to make sure of is that your button is not so tight against your piece that you won't be able to get the hair tie under it. So what I did when I sewed the button is I put a toothpick over the top. And I don't have the toothpick anymore. But if you have a toothpick, it just kind of sits and lifts this up a little bit. So it's on there, it's not going to go anywhere, but there's room between the button and the bottom. And so you can put your pieces inside, fold it up, and it'll now fit in your picnic basket for the park or the beach, and it will also fit on a shelf or a drawer. So, there you have it. Oops, there. Sorry, I was out of frame for a sec. Then I decided I had so much fun making that I would make one for fall. So this one has this really fun print with acorns and leaves on it. And when you open it up, it's got fall colors, very beige and orange. And then I added some play pieces. This one has pumpkins and leaves. So there you go. Those are 2 tic-tac-toe boards. I hope you have fun making these.